Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Padavijagacharya Ashtottara Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Padavijagacharya Ashtottara Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay, I'm going to move over a little bit to the right here. All right. You have your a book? Okay, yeah. Just one note. Try not to put it on the place where we sit. Oh, sorry. That's okay. And now you got that song on there. So give it to him. Yeah, these little rules. Try to respect the sacred word. Okay. On this 14th day of February 2024 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we're in chapter 5 entitled Karma Yoga, Action in Krishna Consciousness. Text 10 at the bottom of page 237. Oh, is it 11? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Rather, we'll do text 11 at the bottom of page 238. Kayena, manasa, buddhya, kevalayar, indriyayarapi, yoginah, karma, kurvanti, sangam, tyaktvatma, shuddhaye, kayena manasa buddhya, kevalayar indriyayarapi, yoginak karma kurvanti, sangam tyaktvatma shuddhaye. Kayena manasa buddhya, kevalayar indriyayarapi, yoginak karma kurvanti, sangam tyaktvatma shuddhaye. Kayena manasa buddhya, kevalayar indriyayarapi, yoginak karma kurvanti, sangam tyaktvatma shuddhaye. Tapas. Kayena manasa buddhya, kevalayar indriyayarapi, yoginak karma kurvanti, sangam tyaktvatma shuddhaye. 5:11. Kayena manasa buddhya, kevalayar indriyayarapi, yoginak karma kurvanti, sangam tyaktvatma shuddhaye. I'm assuming you don't want to try it. You can try it. Okay. Anyone online? No one's online. Okay. Kayena with the body, manasa with the mind, buddhya with the intelligence, kevalai, purified, indriyai, with the senses, api, even, yoginaha, Krishna conscious persons, karma, actions, kurvanti, they perform, sangam, attachment, tyaktva, giving up, atma, of the self, shuddhaye, for the purpose of purification. Translation. Krishna says to Arjuna, the yogis, abandoning attachment, act with the body, mind, intelligence, and even with the senses, only for the purpose of purification. Purport. When one acts in Krishna consciousness for the satisfaction of the senses of Krishna, any action, whether of the body, mind, or intelligence, or even of the senses, is purified of material contamination. There are no material reactions resulting from the activities of a Krishna conscious person. Therefore, purified activities, which are generally called sadachar, can be easily performed by acting in Krishna consciousness. Sri Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1.2.187 describes this as follows. Iha yasya hare dasye karmana manasagira nikalashvapyavastasu jivan mukta sa uchyate. A person acting in Krishna consciousness, or in other words, in the service of Krishna, with his body, mind, intelligence, and words, is a liberated person even within the material world, although he may be engaged in many so-called material activities. Close quote. He has no false ego, for he does not believe that he is this material body, or that he possesses the body. He knows that he is not this body, and that this body does not belong to him. He himself belongs to Krishna, and the body too belongs to Krishna. When he applies everything produced of the body, mind, intelligence, words, life, wealth, etc., whatever he may have within his possession, to Krishna's service, he is at once dovetailed with Krishna. He is one with Krishna and is devoid of the false ego that leads one to believe that he is the body, etc. This is the perfect stage of Krishna consciousness. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So I just want to call your attention to one interesting fact. If we go back to text 10, and you look at the first line, you see that? Brahmanyadaya karmani sangam tyakva karoti yaha. The same word is there. Sangam tyakva. Giving up attachment. So this is being emphasized in these verses. And so the idea is that the whole process of bhakti yoga is one of purification. This is a central principle. Meaning that our senses, our mind, our intelligence are not pure now. What's not pure about them is that they're infected with all kinds of influences from what we call the modes of nature. The mode of passion, which induces one to become very attached to sense gratification, deriving the senses. And not just gross sense gratification, but also subtle sense gratification. Being honored, you know, amongst people, having a high place in society, fame, all of these different things. So all of that is an impurity. Why? Because it covers our actual nature, which is to be agents of Krishna's pleasure. When we chant Hare Krishna, when we go out and try to sell his books, so we had our nice festival, the Jagannath festival, out on the beach. What are we doing there? We're glorifying the Lord. You know, we're not thinking, oh, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to dance, maybe I'll attract some attention, you know, maybe. No. We may attract attention, we will attract attention, but but it's not for us. It's the sound. We're just singing Hare Krishna, Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath. And the books are about that. The books are glorifying Krishna. And everything, you know, is all for the greater glory of God, you know. And that's the actual function of the soul, is to work in such a way with whatever we have. What do we have? We have our senses, mind, there's a list here. The body itself, the mind, the intelligence, and it goes on in the quoted verse in the purport, Karmana manasa gira, words are very important, the sound vibration. So what words we hear, what words we speak is a tremendous determinant of our consciousness, when you think about it. What does it mean to get an education? Well, you come into the first grade class, and there's your teacher, you know, and you have to stop gabbing about, you know, things that have no relation. You have to be quiet. And then you start to hear the teacher saying, okay, today we're going to learn the ABCs. And you see there on the board, right away, it's in words. Words are so important. You have to be able to understand enough of what the teacher is saying to come. So you can't be 4, you have to be 6 to go to first grade or whatever, you know what I mean? So the words are critical, the sound vibration. And indeed, the Maya's kingdom is built on mountains of mundane words. They're right at the beginning of the 2nd canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We find Sukadeva Goswami responding to Maharaj Parikshit's question at the end of the first canto. The first canto, in many ways, is an introduction to the book, describing how it comes to be. You know, how Narada Muni came down, Vyasadeva was dissatisfied, he'd written all the Puranas, he'd written the Mahabharata, he'd written all the Vedas and Upanishads, and still he was dissatisfied. And he doesn't know exactly why, so Narada Muni senses that, he comes down, he's his guru. And he basically tells him, because you haven't sufficiently glorified the Lord and his devotees and the process of devotional service. It's not that you haven't mentioned it. After all, the Mahabharata is the book in which we find the Bhagavad Gita. The Padma Purana had been written, and that has a lot of things about bhakti. But no literature, no book that he wrote was wholly and solely devoted to that. So therefore you get people going into certain parts of the Vedas, the Karmakanda section, and learning how to worship Agni through the Rig Veda so that they can get prosperity or go to the higher planets or something. In other words, material motivation. He had adulterated the pure message of bhakti. So he said, you have to write a book that's wholly and solely glorifying Krishna and his devotional service and his pastimes and his devotees and all these different things. And that's what the Bhagavatam is. So if we think, so the process of purification, that's central. We find that, I love to quote this section of the Bhagavatam, which is the second chapter of the first canto. There's a whole lesson there that's almost self-sufficient. If you just understand those verses from first canto, second chapter, text 6 through text 21, you can follow those and you become pure and go back to Godhead. But there's so much more to know, so you keep going. But Prabhupada would quote from those verses extensively. So I'll just give a summary of that. He's talking about what real Dharma is. We come back to that point of Dharma. The thing is, we're out of sync with our real Dharma as souls. As spirit souls, we have a basic, conscious beings, we have a basic principle of serving. But now instead of serving Krishna for our ultimate benefit and peace and bliss and happiness, we've turned from Krishna, we've forgotten Krishna. And we're serving our senses, we're serving the objects of the senses, the mind, and other people in Maya. In other words, we're still serving, although we may not know that we're serving, but we're still serving. And that is keeping us bound in this world through a series of acquiring desires. Here I call attention to the fact that the word tyaktva, sangam tyaktva, appears in both text 10 and text 11. So it means it's an important phrase. It means giving up attachment to the things of this world. But not giving up attachment wholly. We want to transfer that attachment to Krishna. And that's done by all the process of devotional service, beginning with the glorification, this process of chanting Hare Krishna. What is that verse? Cheto Darbana Marjanam. That's the first phrase of the first verse, key verse of the Shikshastika, which is the basis of this whole movement, really. And what does he say? By congregational chanting of the holy name of Krishna. And of course, this is the most potent mantra. Lord Chaitanya chanted it. The first installment is the consciousness becomes purified. Cheto Darpana Marjanam, just like polishing a mirror. The mirror has been dusty for a long time. A little dust of lust, the dust of lust. So the chanting cleanses it. And there you can see yourself, who you really are, spirit souls, not the body. And result of that is immediately Bhava Mahadav Agni Nirvapanam. Bhava, this word bhava is important. It's a completely different word than bhava. Don't confuse it. Those little marks are very important. Bhava means change. It means constant change. And it's come to mean mostly birth, old age, disease, and death. Birth, old age, disease, and death. Round and around we go, thousands, millions of times. The body is constantly changing. We forgot that we are souls, so we're thinking we're changing, we'll get closer to death. What does it mean, And even within one lifetime, you may have some situation that's pretty peaceful and happy and you think things are okay, but then something happens. Disease happens. We just had this whole pandemic. It's left a scar on the mental situation of everyone in the world. I'm just reading about how in the United States, it's all this isolation. That happened? Yeah. It's like it's not over. You carry it with you, And so what is that? The mind is a material thing. The mind is not, spiritual. The mind it's subtle matter, but it's very, and so the mind is the key vehicle for what body you're going to get in your next life. The state of your mind, the most prominent thought that's in your mind will determine your next life. So how important it is to cultivate Krishna consciousness. The more that we chant and we think of this name of Krishna, which inconceivably is non-different from Krishna himself. When you're chanting and hearing nicely, you're associating with Krishna, and that purification is taking place. You're becoming attracted to Krishna, which is the key. That's the whole thing. The attraction to Krishna, you want to amplify as much as possible by not diverting it to other things and doing all the things that you become attracted. Glorifying Krishna, serving Krishna, chanting with Krishna, serving Krishna's devotees, all these different things. So this verse here is very nicely describing with your body, with your mind, with your intelligence, and with your purified senses, yogina karma kurvanti, to perform karma yoga. Karma yoga means acting for Krishna consciousness in this context. Yeah. Yeah. The karma means activity. But if it's in yoga, it means that activity which links you to the Supreme. You know, it could be Param Brahma, but really it's Krishna. Sangam tukvat mashuddhaye, and you're giving up attachment for the purification of the soul. Atma shuddhaye. You see? Now Prabhupada quotes this verse. He loved to quote this verse from Rupa Goswami. Iha. Now Prabhupada always said the word iha means here. The word iha means activities. It's a whole different word. But Prabhupada would often use it here, even in this world, the Jivan Mukta. So Hare Dasya. Hare Dasya means the servant of Hari, servant of Krishna. If someone's activities are all within the realm of Hare Dasya, well, with what? With Karmana, Manasagara. Karmana means your senses. Manasa means mind. Gira means words. You see? They're all linked up to Krishna. You're glorifying Krishna, you're hearing about Krishna, you're working for Krishna. Nikalashu, all of them. Avastap, if one is situated here in this world in this way, and he's arranged his life in such a way that all his activities are linked to Krishna, then he's liberated, even in this world. Jiva, the Jiva is mukta. So Uchita is said to be liberated. So liberation doesn't necessarily mean you have to leave this body and merge into Brahman. We don't want that liberation. We don't want that, because then there's no bhakti. In order for there to be bhakti, loving devotional service to Krishna, there needs to be Krishna and the bhakta and the process of bhakti. There's none of those things in the Brahma Jyoti. I mean, we may be there, but without a body, we're just pure consciousness. You see? And you can never be satisfied for long that way. The Prabhupada would quote this verse all the time. All the great demigods gathered in the dungeon of Kamsa before Krishna was born. You know, they were kind of subtly there. They couldn't be seen, but they were there, and they have a whole set of prayers. Understanding Krishna is going to come to the earth, it's a big thing. It's about to appear in the dungeon there. So one of the prayers, the most famous one, the only one I know by heart, it says, Yen ye ravindaksha vimuktamaninas tvayasta bhavad abhishuddha buddhaya aduha kutrena parang palang tatak patantyadho nadvida yushmarangaya. It's very graphic. So he says, they've been glorifying Krishna and his devotees, and then they say, besides the devotees, there are others, anye. Ye and ye, oh, lotus-eyed Lord, anavindaksha. Ye and ye ravindaksha vimuktamanine. They think they're liberated. They think they're liberated. But Abhishuddha Buddhaya, their consciousness, their intelligence is not really purified, because they're trying to merge into Brahman. And a few, not many, a few can practice the sufficient austerities for sufficient time in order to really conquer over the senses and the mind. You can imagine how hard it would be without Krishna consciousness, without the deities, without the prasadam, without the devotees. Just you and your mind out there somewhere in the hills, in the Himalayas somewhere. So some of them, aruha Kṛṣṇa, the very words in the Sanskrit gives you an idea of how difficult it is. Kṛṣṇa. You see? Aruha Kṛṣṇa parang padang. They can get to Brahman. They can get Brahmabhuta. You see? Without bhakti. But it's not permanent. Aruha Kṛṣṇa parang padang tatat patantyado anadvida yushma. But they fall down again. Anadvida yushmarangriya, because they're averse to serving your lotus feet. We have to have something to engage our propensity for activities, for loving exchange, with, just the negative of trying to suppress all of these things that are bringing us back life after life is ineffective. It doesn't work. It's self-defeating. And that's why they think, oh, I'm liberated now. Maybe for a little while, But then it gets unbearably lonely up there. It's just as simple as that. There's nobody else. So let me just go down. At least I'll maybe start some hospitals or something. Prabhupada says like that. So here is describing very nice. And we find that throughout several verses in the Bhagavatam, in the 11th canto, I won't share, but the same idea of just systematically engaging everything you control. And the Prabhupada mentioned, yes, your wealth, everything that you can, that can be used in Krishna's service, you engage in the Krishna service. And you find great peace in that way. Because you're getting rid of your material attachments. Lord Chaitanya has this wonderful verse in his teachings to Sanatana Goswami. Who can be peaceful? We really want peace. And the peace starts in here, There's no peace in the world because everybody, they're angry. And this land is mine, and it's impossible, horrible. So how can we really be peaceful in our own life? So he has this beautiful verse, Lord Chaitanya speaking. He says, Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Ataeva Shanta Bhukti Mukti Siddhikami Sakali Ashanta. He covers everyone there. There's like 4 different classes of people. So first he says the devotees, Krishna Bhakta Nishkama. They don't have any material desire. They don't want to enjoy anything for themselves. They want to simply give Krishna enjoyment. And therefore they're peaceful. At the end of the 2nd chapter, there's a verse that describes that peace of this Bhagavad Gita. Vihaya kama niksarvan puman chadiri nikspaha nirmamon narahankara sashanti madigachiti. It's exactly the same thing. Vihaya kaman, giving up all selfish desires. Puman chadiri, living free of these desires. Vihaya kama puman chadiri nikspaha nirmamon narahankara. Having no sense of separate possessiveness of something. Everything belongs to God. And if whatever I can, I'm going to use it in service. And nirahankara, having no false ego, false sense of self. The real ego is, I'm the servant of Krishna, I belong to Krishna. Such a person is truly peaceful. Now, it may be kind of paradoxical. Here we are on a battlefield, and when Arjuna actually surrenders, he's fighting. So where's the peace, you see? The peace is in his heart. Even though he's externally fighting, he's not, he's not losing it in anger, and fury. He's controlled because he's doing it in Krishna. It's not his own desire to fight. It's completely Krishna's desire, right? What's happening? Somebody needs. So this is a one of the effects of Krishna consciousness is to make oneself peaceful even in difficult circumstances. And what could be more idea than that, or example of that, than Prahlad Maharaj, we're learning in the morning, who was a little child, but he was so advanced in devotional service. He felt completely protected by Krishna. He never forgot Krishna for a moment. And even though his father tried to kill him and give him to his henchmen, and they had all their ways, crush him under the elephant, poison snake, boil him in oil, throw him off a tree, off a hill. Nothing worked. He was completely protected. Just like Ambarish, right? The fiery demoness is coming at him. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. And the chakra came, demoness, and went after Durvasa Muni, chased him all over the universe. Anyway, it's a whole story. So having that kind of internal peace from being completely selfless and connected to Krishna and relying on Krishna. Don't forget, it's so nice to learn some of these verses describing what is Sharanagati, what does it mean to surrender. So there's a formula. The Acharyas, Rupa Goswami and others have given us the formula. So he says, Anukulyasya sankalpa, Pratikulyasya varjanam, Rakshishyatiti vishvaso goptvet vevananang tata atmanikshep karpanye shadbadha sharanagati. These are the 6 elements of Sharanagati. And the great devotees are all full and perfect in these things. So the first one is anukulyasya sankalpa, to accept what is favorable for devotional service. Even though it may not, comport with our own desires, but that's the whole point. It's what we need to do. It's not alien. You go to college and you got to study this, and qualify it. And you want to party, but you can't. You got the exam tomorrow. So that do's and don'ts. So accepting what's favorable and rejecting what's unfavorable. illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, intoxication. These are the basic things that are unfavorable. Prajalpa, the Atyahara Priyasascha Prajalpa Niyamarga. Rupa Goswami gives us an extended list of that, you know. So we know what we shouldn't do, and we have all kinds of things that we should do. First thing is chant Hare Krishna. And if you get really serious, then arrange your life, come to Mangalartik, you know, this all levels of surrender. But that's the basic thing. Accept what's favorable and reject what's unfavorable. Rakshishititi, now here in that mentality of advanced devotees, to be confident of Krishna's protection. You know, I don't know how many of you here, you've heard the story of Sharaba, who got escaped from Croatia, from Serbia, and went to Croatia. Yeah, I gave a class. He was sitting right here. He was visiting here. This is incredible. I'll just summarize it real quick. So this is in the early 90s. There was a war in former Yugoslavia, if you look the history up. And you had Serbia fighting Bosnia and Croatia, and it was a whole thing. And so meanwhile, this Sharaba Prabhu, he wasn't Sharaba yet, he wasn't initiated. There was some devotees, he got a Bhagavad Gita, he started, you know, reading it, he got interested. And he eventually met some serious devotees, started chanting, and he became a devotee, and he wanted to go to a temple. There were no temples in Serbia, but there was a temple in Croatia. So he had to try to get from Serbia. But you know, he was 18, 19 years old, his parents, his uncles, everyone said, you can't go anywhere, you know, the fighting is going on, you're going to get in. But he had read this, this motto, this thing which he kept with him. Rake Krishna Marike. Mare Krishna Rakeke. It's one of these mottos, Bengali mottos. Rake Krishna Marike. If Krishna protects you, no one can kill you. And if Krishna wants to kill you, no one can protect you. He wants to kill Hiranyakashipu, nothing, but he couldn't protect us. So here he was, you know, and he really, really, really wanted to get to Croatia so he could get to a temple. So despite his advisors, his parents and everything, he was old enough, he was free, you know. So he gets a backpack, you know, he's got his Bhagavad Gita, he's got the beats, he's constantly chanting. And that's where his real shelter is, chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. He starts off. And he gets to a point where there had been a lot of fighting, you know. And he saw there was a pen where there was a cow and a calf, and there was a fire going on in there, and they were crying, and he was very upset about that. So he stopped, and he asked if is anyone here, you know, that could release them, you know, like that. So what happens? He hears this is a theme, click, click. There were a couple of soldiers there, and they said, well, who are you? Where are you coming from? And so forth, you know. So he said, I'm just a spirit soul. You know, he was giving that kind of answer. So they started firing at him. They missed, and he started running as fast as he could. Run, and they're shooting. They missed. They didn't hit him. And finally, you know, outran them. They had their guns and everything, and they said, he got away. You know, Rocket Krishna Marike. Okay, you know. So he keeps going and going and going and going. And then through the night, and then, you know, it's dawn. I forget the exact details. But he comes to a certain point, and then again he hears, who is that? You know, he hears the click, click of the guns. He says, I'm just a spirit soul. You know, but they weren't, so they arrested him. They came out, and they held him, and then the leader of the platoon, whoever it was, came out and said, "Get on the ground," you know. So he got on the ground. He was chanting, constantly chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Rama, Rama. And then he had this backpack right on his back, and the guy said, "Stop that chanting," and he wouldn't stop. You know, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare. Because he remembers, he says in his account, I remember that it's really good to be chanting Hare Krishna, you know, even if you die, you know. So he kept chanting. The guy shoots point blank, boom, at him like this. Something in his backpack diverted the bullet. It didn't hit him. and it hit a rock next to him and bounced back and almost killed one of the other soldiers. And they started, like, what are you doing? You're crazy. You know, so it was like a miracle. It was a miracle. The whole thing is miraculous. So he said, all right, get up, you know, come with us. And so they started interrogating him, where do you come from, and this and that, you know. And finally they realized he's harmless, you know. So they put him in a cell, and they said, well, tomorrow morning we'll take you to the border. So he's in the cell, and this other guy comes. You know, it was like a little crew of terrorists, really. They would go out with knives and assassinate people. It was horrible. So this guy comes in, you know. He says, I heard, you know, some of those relatives you told about, the names, you know, and they were Serbian names, and we were Croatians. And in other words, he was, you know, threatening. So it's just the two of them there in the cell, you know, and the guy is threatening. He's got his knife there. So Sarabha pulls out a painting, you know, a picture that he was carrying in his backpack of Krishna. Like you've seen it. You've seen it. A similar one. He's sitting in the forest, you know, and he's got the little swan here and the calf, you know. It's a very beautiful picture, very attractive. So he showed him this. This is God. And immediately the guy's heart softened. That's God. She's so beautiful. You know, he couldn't say it. She looks. The guy was disarmed. You know, he said, "Oh, okay, good night." You know, another miracle. One miracle after another. So the next morning, the two guys, they were in a car. They had arrested him and said, "Come with us. We'll drive you to the border of Croatia," because they're going that way to do something. But there's all of these checkpoints. It's a war, you know. So there's checkpoints. And Sarabha, this was the thing, Sarabha didn't have very good ID. He had a picture, but it was before he shaved up, you know, so it didn't look like him. That was the problem. But he says, well, okay, if you can get through these checkpoints, then I'll know you deserve to get to Croatia. So he's in the back seat, and they get to the first checkpoint, and the guys have their papers and everything, you know. Said, okay. And Sarabha is just chanting in the back seat, and the guy doesn't even look at him. It's like he looks through him. You know, and they keep driving, and there's nothing. And the guys in the front say, "Wow, that never happens. You know, this is a war." You know, they check everybody. The next checkpoint, they don't even stop the car. They just wave him through. So when they get to near the border, they let him out and said, "Okay, God be with you." You know, bye. So then there's one more miracle. So now he's in a town just over the border from Croatia, and he's hungry, you know. So he gets some fruit, and he's in a little park, and he sets up a little altar on a bench, you know. He's making an offering, and there's a couple of policemen come. And so Sarabha is so fired up now that he says, "Will you please wait a minute? I'm making an offering." And so they wait. They wait, you know. And he makes the offering and gets the fruit and puts it in his bag, you know. So then they say, come with us, you know, and they show us your ID. This doesn't even look like you, you know. And so they said, we're sending you back where you came from. So Sarabha is saying to Krishna, Krishna, you really going to send me back now after all that's going to happen, you know? Yeah, we're taking you back to the last checkpoint, and we're going to tell that guy the next time a car comes through going the other way that you have to get on the car and get in there, you know. So, okay, so they took him back to the last checkpoint, the one that they drove through without even stopping. And so Sarabha's waiting there, and he's waiting there, and the guy is there. He says, would you like some fruit? I have some fruit in the bag. Yeah, okay, you know. So, prasadam, you know, he gives him prasadam. And then Sarabha tells him this whole story. He says, I'm not going to send you back, you know, go on, you know. So he goes on, and he's now at the border, and it turns out that one of his relatives lives there, and they have a whole house. So he's able to stay there, and they're able to get papers for him and everything so he can get into Croatia. And he finally gets into Croatia, joins the temple there, and then a few years later, they had some problem in the temple. He came to L.A. with Mahatattva, actually. Mahatattva first came to L.A., he was here. And he started doing service there, and now he's been in Washington, D.C. temple for a few years doing pujari work. He got married and everything. And then so... Talk about miracles. I mean, that's an incredible story. These stories are so important because this is us. This isn't in the book, you know. This is contemporaries. It's faith building, you know. So anyway, that's the one of the benefits of being surrendered to Krishna is that you become peaceful and you become free of fear. They asked Prabhupada one time, So what do you feel when you chant Hare Krishna? So probably means said fearless. You're fearless, which is an amazing thing. Being fearless in all kinds of circumstances that would ordinarily cause fear. And if you read Prabhupada's Lilamrita, there's several instances where he was threatened with death, if he didn't get out. And, he got through that. He was in a head-on crash in Mauritius, and he survived that with minor injuries and all this kind of stuff. So that's what we have here. All right, I'm going to go on one more. Then I'm going to read some poems. I even planned it out. I'm going to have a couple of nice verses. Text 12. Yukta karma palam tyaktva shantim apnoti naishtikim ayukta karma karena pale sakto nibadyate. Yeah. Okay. The steadily devoted soul attains unadulterated peace, is the peace, because he offers the result of all activities to me. Whereas a person who is not in union with me, with the divine, who is greedy for the fruits of his labor, becomes entangled. Purport: the difference between a person in Krishna consciousness and a person in bodily consciousness is that the former is attached to Krishna, whereas the latter is attached to results of his activities. The person who is attached to Krishna and works for him only is certainly a liberated person, and he has no anxiety over the results of his work. In the Bhagavatam, the cause of anxiety over the result of an activity is explained as being one's functioning in the conception of duality, that is, without knowledge of the absolute truth. Krishna is the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead. In Krishna consciousness, there is no duality. All that exists is a product of Krishna's energy, and Krishna is all good. Therefore, activities in Krishna consciousness are on the absolute plane. They are transcendental and have no material effect. One is therefore filled with peace in Krishna consciousness, but one who is entangled in profit calculation for sense gratification cannot have that peace. This is the secret of Krishna consciousness. Realization that there is no existence besides Krishna is the platform of peace and fearlessness. Hare Krishna. So here comes the Shanti. You see, this is what I was talking about. It talks about Shanti, that's peacefulness. He links up all the fruits of his activity to Krishna, and therefore he or she is completely peaceful. But those who are not linked, ayukta, who are acting on the basis of kama, personal desire, pale sakto nabhadyate, they get bound up by the fruits of their activity. Just bound up by the desire. Even if the fruits aren't there, you're still so much absorbed in desire for the fruits that you're anything but peaceful. So that peacefulness is kind of just the basis of further development of Krishna consciousness. But it's a tremendously valuable thing. And it comes from this selflessness. And it's not just to Krishna that you're giving, you're also acting for the benefit of everybody who you contact, to try to give them the key to success in life. Because no matter who you point to in this material world, who may be a political leader, wealthy, whatever it may be, whatever name, it's just ephemeral. It's just illusory because it's all destroyed by time. Anything external is destroyed by time. The whole universe is destroyed by time. So if we don't want to be around when that destruction takes place, or we want this this destruction of our own little universe to be our last, then we should try to absorb our mind in Krishna consciousness as much as possible. And that means that all the senses and all the mind, everything has to be linked up. And that's the systematic process of Krishna consciousness does that. So, any comments, questions on these? Yes? But wait, use the mic because we have an audience out there. Due to our friend Tapas, he's arranged it. I'm sorry? Okay, plus the people here.
All right, okay. I feel a little too powerful holding this mic, but that's okay. So I wanted to ask about karma and what you were talking about, doing things for Krishna, out of wanting good karma or something like that. This is
I'm sorry, out of
wanting good karma, doing good actions for good karma.
Oh, so you're talking about material karma.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just wanted to ask you, I don't know if this is too off topic, but I just realized that the word profit and the Christian word profit, it's basically the same word, but with different
very different meanings.
Is there something maybe...
False prophets want only profit.
Yeah, I'm
See?
just realizing that now that it's basically the same word unless you're looking at it on paper, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want,
doesn't-
because
but they were
basically
real
what
prophets.
you were saying,
Yeah.
you know, but it's like a mirror image.
Yeah,
of,
we generally don't encounter that word so much in Krishna consciousness, but
Yeah.
you know, the thing is, it's very possible. Talk about profit. We had one lady here. You're not her, I assume. You're not Molly, right?
I am Molly.
Oh,
I am that girl that keeps coming back. Yeah, I was
but
talking
not Unter Molly. Vana Molly. I'll explain it to you later.
Okay.
Okay, you're not Unter Molly. No. They didn't tell you what it
Oh
meant,
yeah,
right?
they were making fun of me, I guess.
No, they weren't making fun of it. They just didn't know what they were doing.
Oh,
They
okay.
did, yeah, they do that word Molly, but they only do it in conjunction with Unter Molly, but not Unter Molly. Vana Molly. So the false prophets, they're looking for profit.
Yeah,
It's perfect.
it makes
Yes,
sense, right?
but by the life of the great souls, this is why Srila Prabhupada's coming and walking amongst us is so important, because we could see he was different. He wasn't out for any kind of material profit. Whatever money he got, he said, "All right, let's print some more books. Let's build a temple. Let's spend it on travel, so I, a 73-year-old man, can travel from New York to London and then to India." Mm-hmm. It's not easy, you know. It's an austerity. Yeah. But he wasn't. He was always thinking, "Oh, great! You know, we got a little Lakshmi now, money now, then spend it for Krishna." He was able to buy a mansion in Detroit that had been owned by one of the Ford people, you know. In other words, it was very opulent, but it was in like a ghetto, you know. In other words, it wasn't that good. So it wasn't being sold for what it was actually worth. So he was able to get him down to $300,000, which was not much for this. And he had Alfred Ford as one of his disciples. You know, you heard about that? Alfred Ford was a descendant of the Fords, and he had plenty of money, so we bought that. And it was a place where Prabhu could have retired at that point. It was quite late. It was 76 or so, and he passed away the next year, you know. So he could have just said, "Okay, I'm going to stay here and write and everything," but he didn't. You know, he got it all bought, and then he assigned people to come and build it up and develop it, which is still there. And he himself flew off to Nairobi or somewhere, you know, where the devotees were writing him, "Please come and visit us," you know, like that. So obviously he was not into it for some material gain. You know, that's an important point.
Yeah, so I guess my question is the word prophet, is that from prophet?
That I don't know.
You don't know. It's not a word in Krishna consciousness, is that correct?
We don't use that word prophet.
You use avatar? Right?
No. The prophet is the living entity who's a genuine servant of God. You know,
okay.
And so we would use a
devotee,
a saint, or English word, or acharya. The acharya or guru. Acharya is very nice. Acharya is one who, it comes from the word achar, which means activity. One who knows the scripture very thoroughly, who lives according to the dictates of the scripture, according to the rules of the scripture, and who teaches others. Those three things. He knows it, lives it, and gives it.
So it's basically the opposite of
exactly. They don't
going out and getting something.
Yeah, or using the scripture to for material means. That's what you were saying. Yeah. Okay. So now let me just share with these little poems. I even have them on here just to remind me. So both of these are by Rupa Goswami, and the first one is a little metaphor. It says, and just listen to this wonderful language. You know, you can't do this in English. Manasajapandi jushte, labdapatos mi dushte, timadagahna rupe, hanta sangsara kupe, ajatanakala dakshahe, tamuddara daksham, upanayamamahaste, bhakti rajum namaste. Fallen in this deep and dark and dirty well of Maya, threatened by the snake of lust, whose venom burns like fire, helplessly I pray, O Lord, whose strength is ne'er in doubt. Place the rope of bhakti in my hands and pull me out. And whenever I chant that one, I say, okay, because this is a common metaphor, that Krishna can pull us out of this well. But what do we have to do? Bhadravinaram said, what do we have to do? We have to hold on to that rope. The rope of bhakti. Those are all the rules and regulations right there. If we lose our grip, then Krishna can't do anything. He makes all the arrangements, and it's fun. So he puts the rope down. The rope is here, and we hold on to it by following all the principles, and we can get liberation. Now, the second one, this next one, I was once at a japa retreat, and they don't do the japa retreats anymore in America, anyway. And this was a nice tradition. I did 4 or 5 or 6 of them. And this was up in Joshua Tree, up north here. There's like a resort area, right, a little out in the desert, And Giriraj Swami came down. He was there. And some other leading lights. And I shared this. And later on, he asked me to send it to him in email. And so he has, I don't know if he used it in class or not. But this one is quoted by Srila Prabhupada in a purport. And so it's about comparing the devotee to a chataka bird. I'll explain it. Vidachayamai dandam dina bando dayangva gatadihena bhavakta kachadanyamamasti nipatadashatakoti nirmalang banabambas tadabakilbayodak stuyate chatakena. There's the chatak at the end. The chataka subsists on rain it catches in midair. And so it's always praying to the cloud to send its fare. Yet though that cloud may send a thunderbolt instead of rain, that bird continues praying fervently despite the pain. Just like the chataka, I fix my mind upon one goal, and that is you, O Lord, most kind to every fallen soul. So whether it is mercy that you send, So whether it is punishment you send or mercy sweet, I'll always pray to you for service to your lotus feet. And this is a principle. It's I have a few minutes. So this principle is there in this very famous verse. I think it's part of Brahma's prayers in the 14th chapter of the 10th canto, after the stealing of the cows and the boys, that whole pastime. Brahma Vimohan Lila means the Lila that bewildered Brahma. So, Tattenu Kumpam Susamikshimano Bunjana Evapnikutam Vipakam Hridvavabhube Vedadan Namaste Jivetuyo Muktipade Sadaya Bhak. So, Tate Unakumpam Susamikshimano, always seeing Krishna's activities as compassionate. And even if suffering some setback in this world, something that's painful, we take it, this is Krishna's plan. This is, it could have been so much worse. The classic is, you're working in the kitchen and you just joined 2 weeks ago and you cut your finger. Well, how does that explain? I'm working for Krishna and I'm cutting my... Yes, you were scheduled to cut off your finger and now you're just getting a little cut. Krishna minimized it, so, okay, all right, that's it. So here's the Band-Aid, but be careful from now on, Bhakta Jim. So that's the idea. Understanding that there's something I did in my past that I was supposed to get a horrible result, and I just got a token result. So Krishna's minimizing. And then when the good things happen, things that are very pleasant, you said, oh, Krishna's so kind. He's giving me more facility to serve him. So in either case, you have this positive view of Krishna, you see. And if you have that, then continuing to serve the Lord with the heart and with your voice and with your body and senses. Vidadan namaste, offering obeisance. Ye jivade mukti bade sadayabhak. Such a person is an object of Krishna's mercy, dayabhak, and is liberated even in this world. There's a whole backstory to this, so I don't have time to tell you about Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who couldn't stand to hear the word mukti after that. Because it's so much associated with impersonalism. Mukti means merging into Brahman. He didn't even want to hear it, so he crossed it out and put bhakti pade. Lord Chaitanya saw it and he laughed. He said, you can't change the Bhagavatam verse, and he explained why mukti pade in this case means the definition of mukti in the second canon, mukti hit vanyata rupam swarupena vivasati. Mukti means giving up all our other bodies and forms, these that we've been in for millions of years, and being situated in our swarup, our original spiritual form, which we all have. Every soul has that. And that original spiritual form is our eternal form in the spiritual world. So mukti is fine, as long as you understand it that way, rather than the Maya bodies merging into Brahman, which is false mukti. It's only mukti manasa. They're thinking they're mukti, but they're not really liberated. So we've come to that magic hour. Thank you for your attention. And we'll resume on Monday. Hare Krishna. So where are we?
13, I think.
Yes, you're right. 13, yes. Nine gates.